my buddy was yelling at him to get on the boat. And she was right there to see that Nolan decided not to.
Dispatch audio confirms a call came in reporting the boat was taking on water and starting to sink. But GPS data pulled from the boat afterward shows it didn't actually leave the island until around 4:30 in the afternoon, roughly 30 minutes after that emergency call went out.
The official record states the boat was sinking. The GPS data says it didn't leave the island until 30 minutes after the call. Those two facts cannot exist in the same truth, and that is where this case begins to break open. Before we go deeper into what the documents actually show, make sure you're subscribed to Project Cold Case, because we don't just cover the story, we follow the evidence. Nolan Wells went to...
You are hearing the audio distress call from the boat. That is the boat on which Nolan Wells went to Horn Island. Now, there have been a lot of different accounts about whether he was on the boat when he came back from Horn Island, when he was supposed to come back from Horn Island. He never came back from Horn Island. And you can clearly hear on that version, which we obtained from the Mississippi Department of Marine Research. They released it. It's not something off
they say. He wanted to stay with her. They yelled for him to get on the boat.
Add something sharper.
Nolan was like a brother to me. Nolan lit up every room he walked in. 4th of July, everybody was out there. Nolan rode out on the Triton, and then we had a Palm Beach, 18 Palm Beach. There was 4 guys on that. The rest of the group, which was ranged from maybe 10 to 15 or 16 people on my buddy's tide line.
Yeah, so y'all pretty much having a good. So you guys get ready to leave out of there, getting towed out.
Yeah.
And then where's Nolan in this situation?
Well, Nolan was. The last time I saw Nolan was 3 o'clock, and Nolan was cradling a girl in his arms, Katie, Katie. And Katie, Nolan was sitting there, and the last time I saw him, I looked at Nolan, and Nolan was like shaking his head, laughing, and I was like, dude, you crazy. I was like just joking with him. And, but anyway, Nolan.
He chose to stay behind.
No one is getting left at the island that came with us, unless they demanded to, be there and asked, this is a very common thing at Horn Island. When you're out there, a lot of people ride out there with someone and in with somebody else all the time. I've done that 100 times. It's a very common thing, but Nolan was sitting by the boat with that Katie girl, and my buddy yelled for Nolan, get on the boat. We're leaving. The boat's having issues. And no, he didn't say that, but he was panicking. Nolan, get the F on the boat. Get on the boat. And Nolan said, no, I'm staying out here. I'm going to ride in with somebody else. And it's not uncommon to hear, but it's not like my buddy asked him one time. My buddy asked Nolan multiple times to get on the boat. Nolan, get on the boat. Get on the boat. We're leaving.
Problem. A friend, Tracyston Shepard, told ABC News that Wells stayed because he really did like a girl he met that day. But another friend, Javon Williams, told CNN something different. I've never known Nolan to stay back while his friends leave. He's always been a guy where if he rode with you, he's going to come back with you. His parents said the same. They taught him if you go with a group, you stay with the group. 2 mutually exclusive versions of reality. He can't both stay voluntarily and never stay behind. Somebody is lying. The GPS data.
Well, Nancy, thank you so much for having me on. If you put the audio within context, it is an impossibility unless these people are prophesying that somehow they're saying Nolan's name or projecting that Nolan is somehow injured, hurt, or killed, because we have witnesses that have come out. When I interviewed Warren, a lot of those kids that I talked to already alluded to this way before the audio came out, that they were gone and people had already saw.
And then we have what happened to Nolan's body. The family hired a private forensic pathologist, Dr. Roger Mitchell, for an independent autopsy. The result, cause and manner of death, undetermined.
Hanging out with. I saw a text message from her alluding to the fact that she never saw him get on that boat at all. We have video of the boat that we shared on our social media page, and it shows all the occupants on the boat, and Nolan was not there. And so if a person thinks that they've heard something on the audio, they have to compare it with context. Maybe they said, is it dead? Talking about items that could potentially have died or damaged on the boat, given the fact that they were sinking. So I think people need to put this in context and reevaluate what they're listening to on the video, because if you are going to make a staunch stance in the wrong direction, in my opinion.
Nancy Grace has been asking the questions nobody else will. She looked at the Life 360 data and the phone records and said, "I've got a big problem with the Life 360 and the phone data all not jeving. I could see it being a few blocks off, but not the discrepancy his mother is describing. I'm not buying that." She zeroed in on the contradictory witness accounts. "I don't know who's lying, but somebody's lying right there. There is no room for both versions to be true. You cannot stay voluntarily and be forced to stay. The investigation has to decide which story it's willing to accept and which witnesses it's willing to believe. The investigation is the only thing standing between the family and the truth." The same refrain. Somebody is lying. The family is now issuing subpoenas to tech companies for social media and phone records. The district attorney's office says it's handling the case with the same care as any other death investigation.
And Tatum.
Sources with knowledge of the investigation say there's now evidence, including at least 2 witnesses, placing Wells on Horn Island after his friend's boat had already left. If that holds up, it directly undercuts the version of events his friends gave to police in those first critical hours.
Dispatch audio confirms a call came in reporting the boat was taking on water, but the boat's GPS shows it didn't leave the island until about 40:30 that afternoon. Investigators have said plainly that if the boy's story doesn't match what the GPS shows, they have a problem. The timeline is a gap you could drive a boat through.
Meanwhile, a Marine Patrol email surfaced describing Wells's alcohol intake that day as heavy, adding one more variable investigators will have to account for once toxicology results are in.
Wait a minute. The state of Mississippi is trying to reshape the narrative on the Nolan Wells death? Really? So it has been reported that Nolan Wells, witnesses have come forward to say that Nolan Wells was drinking heavily during the day.
As if being drunk gives anyone a pass. It doesn't. If Nolan was drunk, that does not negate the fact that something nefarious could have happened on that island.
Authorities have already come out and said, even before they did the autopsy, that Nolan Wells drowned. And his mother, Christine Wansley, said that was not good enough
Dispatch
for her.
audio confirms a call came in reporting the boat was taking on water, but the boat's GPS shows it didn't leave the island until about 4:30 that afternoon. Investigators have said plainly that if the boy's story doesn't match what the GPS shows, they have a problem. The timeline is a gap you could drive a boat through. She was right. Here is the central detail. Dr. Mitchell's exam found an area of discomfort.
Now, as you can see, the gentleman right next to Nolan Wells has beer dripping all down his chest. The other guy had a beer can in his hand. Now, these children are all under the age of 21. None of them can legally purchase alcohol except for Bart. Wait a minute. Bart, were you the one who bought the alcohol for the underage kids that day on the boat on Horn Island? Was it you?
And the response from the state: try to reshape the narrative. Release a Marine Patrol email describing Wells's alcohol intake that day as heavy, as if being drunk means he deserved whatever happened.
Thickening. Not to mention, if Nolan was drinking, if the toxicology come back and he did have alcohol, that doesn't negate the fact that something nefarious happened on that island. Just because Bart was drinking is going to lead to all these things that we see plain as day in our face. We're just going to bypass this, right? We also are going to forget the fact that allegedly they deleted everything off of their social media accounts.
A friend admitted to investigators that everyone had been drinking, underage drinking, since none of them could legally buy alcohol.
Nolan was drinking. Why everybody got a lawyer up? Why everybody got an attorney? And if Nolan was heavily drinking on the 4th of July, we're just going to forget the fact that the telephone calls for the tip line was routed to Ashley Cole, Judge Ashley Cole's office, instead of going to the Jackson County Sheriff's Department.
Social media accounts were allegedly
By the
wiped
Wells
clean.
family, Dr. Roger Mitchell finished his independent autopsy and released his conclusion. Cause and manner of death undetermined. Not drowning, not homicide. undetermined, because according to the family's attorney, Mitchell's exam turned up something nobody
Not
expected.
drowning, not homicide, undetermined. The official autopsy apparently ruled it a drowning before the body was
Something
even...
nobody expected. An area of discoloration on the back of Wells's head, deep enough to sit beneath the skin, that no one has explained. And critically, the body that arrived for the second autopsy didn't include his lungs or his throat. Those are two of the most important pieces of
Dr.
tissue.
Judy Malinek, a board-certified forensic pathologist, put it plainly. Being able to definitively state a cause of death after a body has decomposed and been autopsied twice is incredibly unlikely. Drowning is a diagnosis
Tell
of
you much
exclusion.
of anything with confidence.
Dr. Judy Malinek, I'm a board-certified forensic pathologist, and I just watched the Nolan Wells press conference. And I wanted to share some context for everyone. Being able to definitively state the cause of death after a body has not been found for several days and has been subsequently autopsied twice with signs of decomposition is incredibly, incredibly unlikely.
Deep enough to sit beneath the skin that no one has explained. No fractures, no obvious trauma, just a mark nobody can account for. But the critical problem is what wasn't there. His lungs and his throat, they were gone, removed during the first autopsy and never returned. Those are the two most important pieces of tissue you'd need to confirm or rule out drowning. Without them, an independent pathologist can't tell you much of anything with confidence.
Unlikely. Drowning is what's called a diagnosis of exclusion, which means that when you've got a fresh body, you want to be able to look at the body and see if there's any other causes of death for that body that is found in water that exclude the death being exclusively a drowning. So, for example, if someone is shot and then thrown in the water, you'll have that gunshot and they'll be bleeding and the gunshot will be the cause of death, and the thrown in the water is not the cause of death. It's not even on the death certificate. If a person is strangled and they die from strangulation and then their dead body is thrown in the water, their body will take on water, but the cause of death is going to be strangulation, not drowning.
But the family's attorney, Ben Crump, says the family refuses to let authorities sweep this under the rug. The bottom line is this: Nolan Wells was found face down, wearing swim trunks, on a beach on Horn Island. His cause of death is officially
decomposed body. His body was found here, and this second autopsy done by Dr. Roger Mitchell wasn't until 4 days later. So we're dealing with quite a bit of
If there's
decomposition.
nothing to hide, why is everything so hard to find? If you want to see the investigation through to the truth, like and subscribe to Project Cold Case. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss the next update. Share this video. The truth needs more eyes on it.
They're asking multiple tech companies to preserve relevant social media and phone records. It's still unclear how Wells's body ended up on the shoreline of a coastal island 2 days after a boating trip with friends. His cause of death.
The full audio of the distress call has been obtained and is being analyzed. Oceanic engineering experts are being consulted to understand the tides. Subpoenas have been issued to Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Life.
We are begging, if anyone knows anything, his friends, strangers, please call the hotline, because we will not be able to rest until we get answers.